This is Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony on FM 92.7 and AM 1400. The Answer.
Good morning, Detroit. Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony. If you missed that first hour, head over to theanswerdetroit.com. That's theanswerdetroit.com. Download the podcast. You can listen to the show no matter where you are. Before we go to our interview, I want to bring on Mike. Mike.
Thank you, John, for the most electric morning show of Michigan. Hearing Dr. Vaughn talk about that, reminds me of how important the voices that we need to hear across this country of the things in the proposals and the future that we're trying to design for this nation, how important it is for those voices to be heard.
Amen.
And I would hope Trump starts opening up those rallies again, because it seemed like that's what energized the base. And in midterms, it seems like we're going to slough off, and I don't want that to happen, because if we don't, it's going to be all for nothing.
That's true. Amen, brother.
And if we don't go ahead and get to those voter polls and get in to vote, do the things that are necessary just because, everything's just fine. No, it's not.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Mike.
It's a fight.
Thank you. It is a fight.
Sir.
Fight, fight, fight. That's the battle cry, I believe. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the call. I'm trying to see where I want to lead with my friend, because there are people who talk about backing the men and women who wear the badge, and there are people who build their lives around protecting them. Michael Letts belongs to the second group. Long before the country began arguing about policing, long before it was fashionable to say you stand with law enforcement, Michael was already raising money town by town and church by church to get life-saving vests onto the back of officers whose budgets could not cover the basics. That's sad. He has spent years at the crossroads of public safety, national security, nonprofit leadership, and political reality. His work with Invest USA has touched hundreds of communities and saved countless lives. Yet his vantage point has also given him something else. Michael has seen the patterns most people miss. He has watched political pressure shape investigations. He's seen media narratives lined up like synchronized talking points. He has witnessed institutions pick and choose who deserves protection and who does not. When someone like Michael speaks, you stop and listen, because he understands the danger behind the headlines, the movements behind the news cycles, and the question no one wants to ask. This is not a moment for soft analysis. This is a moment for clarity. That's why we brought him here. Michael, welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer.
Well, Dawn, it's always a privilege to be you. It's a privilege to be with Detroit, and quite frankly, I thank you for such a humbling introduction. You're quite the spokesperson yourself, John. I'm just kind of, we do well together. Let's put it that way.
I always enjoy our conversations. That's why I wanted to keep you around a little longer today, because we got a lot to cover, Michael. There's so much happening in the world. I think Dan Bongino stepping away from his platform surprised a lot of people across the country. When you look at him leaving the FBI as the number 2, what does a move like that signal about the health and the direction of the FBI?
Well, I think it's very clear. I've known Dan for a long time.
Yeah.
And Dan is an action guy like you and I are. He believes that we should be making sure we hold people accountable. They have done their investigative work, and yet we still see people on the street without indictments.
Yeah.
And I think, Dan just took it to the position, look, if we're not going to be able to do any more than this, then I prefer to move on. Yeah. Now, my discussions with Dan have been, we're fixing to talk about this on your show, there's a lot fixing to happen in the first quarter of 2026. And so I said, Dan, if we can, what I know is underway, and you probably have heard it, but, will you stay if it materializes? And his response was, okay, I will publicly say that I am leaving the middle of January. However, if, as you are stating, if we can get these things up and underway, I'll reconsider the position.
Yeah.
And so, I'm comfortable with that. Also, you have to understand, Dan didn't get to bring his family with him in D.C. He was concerned for their safety, security, et cetera. So he's up here doing it by himself. And that gets old after a while.
It does.
John, and especially if you don't think that you're making the progress you think we should be making. And nothing wrong with that statement.
Right.
You can get discouraging. It's kind of like, let's let somebody else give a shot at this. But Dan's done a hell of a job, and I think he can continue to do so.
And, a lot of people, you hear the rumors, the media rumors that he's leaving. He pretty much gave President Trump an ultimatum. Is either me or Pam Bondi. Is there any truth to the infighting between a Bongino and a Pam Bondi because of the inaction?
There is. I would probably see how we classify the word infighting. Disagreement, you better believe it. Strong disagreement, no question. And of course, I'm just repeating what Pam would tell you is, hey, you got to give me some credit. When I came on board, half of the staff resigned. They didn't like the new direction the Department of Justice was taking. So I am short personnel to begin with. And you and I both know it takes some time to make sure if you're going to do an indictment, you want to make sure it sticks.
Yeah.
But I understand Dan's comeback. Okay, this is your first week on the job. That's a great answer. It's almost your first year on the job. It's not going to cut water anymore, and I think you're dragging your feet. I don't think you're moving as fast as you should be. And of course, he's entitled to his opinion. Pam's entitled to hers. And quite frankly, my position is, I believe we should be doing a lot better with indictments. I think there's no reason why we should be waited this long to have some. And I do get it. Let's just talk just a second about Epstein. You and I both know the fiasco that's been, but we also know this one particular aspect with Jeffrey Epstein. That involves intelligence agencies doing things that are nefarious. Let's just be very blunt. We've had a rogue intelligence agency since it was created. We had one president who said, I understand how bad it is, and I'm going to break it into a million pieces, and we're going to start over again. He was assassinated 11 days later. So, that is no easy task in terms of when you have indictments that need to come down, but you have an awful lot of outside play trying to block those, whether it's activist judges, whether it's intelligence agencies, et cetera. And so, you got to factor that in. This is not just walking out on the street and seeing a guy with an armed robbery. You got the video, you got the gun, you got everything happening. You can immediately present the evidence and get an indictment within a week. This is just not these kind of cases. But we've been doing it long enough, John. There's enough evidence there that I believe you should have already gone to the grand jury and gotten what you can get. Because you and I both know you can always modify indictments as you proceed with the case.
Now, I want to play something Todd Blanche said as it relates to President Trump calling it a hoax, because this is how I've been defending President Trump as it relates to this calling of a hoax, and I thought Todd Blanche just laid it out perfectly.
To be clear, releasing the files is not what President Trump has ever had an issue with. When he calls this a hoax, he's talking about the fact that there's this narrative out there that the Department of Justice is somehow hiding or protecting information about him, which is completely false, as evidenced by the fact that the Epstein files existed for years and years and years, and you did not hear a peep out of a single Democrat for the past 4 years. And yet we're supposed to believe that, lo and behold, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Senator Schumer suddenly cares about the Epstein files. That's the hoax. And that's the hoax that has existed for months and months and months. This isn't about whether we would release or not release the Epstein files. As a general matter, we do not release the files of criminal investigations and prosecutions. Yeah. There's laws around that. There's laws that protect victims, that protect the innocent. So we're doing something here that is more transparent than we've done in any criminal investigation in the history of this country. Don't forget that.
Now, Michael, Chuck Schumer, Ro Khanna, Thomas Massey, they know this aspect. They should know this. What do you think of what Todd Blanche said there?
Well, Todd was right on. That's the way it's been all along. I mean, and, we've said it on your show before, and you and I have talked about it, John. If there were any kind of even halfway evidence of some kind of culpability by Donald Trump, that would have been done before he ever could get into office. They would have kept him from getting in office to begin with. I mean, that would have been released so fast, and they would have sunk that ship so quick that we wouldn't even know who Donald Trump's name was.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that he's exactly right. Where the president's frustration is that they're using a narrative or line. He calls it a hoax. Now, I got to be blunt. I probably would have not used that word myself. Probably would have come up with a different one. But he thinks it is a hoax that they are trying to hoodoo the American people into believing there's something there that's not, and that's why he's never been opposed to its release. But he gets blamed, and this is the unfortunate thing we're talking about with Pam Bondi, when the releasing doesn't go the way it's supposed to.
Correct.
You say, well, why doesn't it go? He's the president. You're quickly understanding, America, that just because you're the president doesn't mean you're a dictator.
Correct.
And you may not have every authority and every power that you think you do. You have judges that you have to get involved, activist judges. You have agencies that are very powerful that are supposed to report to you, and that's the way the system's supposed to work, but they do their own thing. They smile at you, shake your hand, turn around and stab you in the back when you walk out the door. And that's just the way it is. And
right.
People say, well, why don't you just replace them? You got to understand this, John. You got to let's see what agency, the Bureau. You got 38,000 people. You're going to replace 3 or 4, but think you're suddenly going to change it, 180 degrees? I mean, yeah, that's the goal, but really, let's be realistic, John.
Yeah, as I think about all of this and how it was handled from Pam Bondi's perspective, you hear all of these people coming after her because of how it was. They came out with the binders. They all came out of the White House with the binders saying we got the Jeffrey Epstein list, and then come to find out, Kash Patel says, remember the Kash Patel interview that he talked about the list. And now they're saying that there is no list. Michael, who are we to believe as it relates to, do you think there's something from a national security aspect that President Trump knows that he cannot release? Because I got people saying, well, release it all, burn the system down. But how many people's lives will be impacted if there's national security in there that shows how our methods and how we collect information, who we collected information from about Jeffrey Epstein being a so-called Israeli spy and he was with Mossad. Is there any truth to any of that?
Yes, there is. And you're very wise, John. Now you understand the balance. Mm-hmm. You have people, and even I'm on that side, just dump the whole thing and let them figure it out themselves, let them sort through it. And then you have the flip side saying, okay, if I take your advice and we dump it all, what do we do to the agents that are in the field? Well, they shouldn't have been in the field to begin with doing that. Well, I understand that, but they were. And so what do we do with it now? I mean, do we, of course, my position is you fire them all and try them for nefarious activities. Well, that's easy for you to say. They were following a directive. So are they responsible, or is it just the person that issued the directive responsible? And remember now, once this goes public, once you've got it out, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Correct.
So something will have to be done. Have we thought all this through? Have we figured it out? And my response has always been, I think transparency is the best cleanser, and I think the American people should know. Yes, our agencies did go rogue, and, we're going to protect the names as we figure out how we're going to prosecute them. We're not going to hide them. You will find out. But you're going to work with us together as we sort through this and bring back justice to the American people.
Now, Michael, before we go to break, now, Trump, and he even said it, hey, I kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago when I found out who he really was. Now,
right.
When you look at these documents that have been released thus far, there's not one, Trump's name is mentioned, but it's mentioned by Epstein and others. There's nothing that ties President. Pictures, yeah. President Trump was a player. He was a player back in the day, prior to being married, and he hung out with some of the best people. I mean, some of the people like Epstein and things of that nature. When you think about that aspect, because that's all they keep showing. They released a picture and they blocked out the faces. Come to find out, they were people involved in his Miss America pageant or whatever. Right. I mean, that right there shows you just how far they're willing to go to, as I keep calling it, get Trump, right?
That's right, exactly. And yeah, they're going to take it as far as they can. I love what you said. Had they had something that was compromising, that would have been out before he even ran the first time. They would have shot him down from being able to run at all. The fact of the matter is that he, as you said, Trump was in that circle, shall we say. He didn't know the repertoire of Jeffrey Epstein at the time. And, of course, he even brings him into the club. Yeah. Now, once he begins to get feedback from some of the club employees, the young girls, He sits down and spends time with him. Of course, what does the media do? Oh, look at there. It shows you he was with the girls. He spent some time with them. No, he was spending time one-on-one talking. Tell me what's happening. What is he doing? Well, what's going on? Once he found out everything, what did he do? He did two things. He immediately went and told Jeffrey, get out of here and don't ever come back.
Yeah.
The second thing he did is he took it to the FBI.
Yeah.
And the FBI, you got to understand, he knew when he heard the girls' testimonies, when he realized that, Jeffrey's still walking around, other people know about this, how come he's still walking? He knew there was a political connection, but yet he felt like he was powerful enough and wealthy enough, even though he wasn't in politics, that he could withstand the storm and release the information.
Correct.
Little did he know when he gave it to the FBI initially took it forward and moved forward for prosecution. Why didn't they do anything of substantial degree to Jeffrey? Because they got a call from one of the intelligence agencies. That's our asset. Back off.
Wow. Well, Michael, we got to go to break. This is how I'm going to keep you on a little longer today. Because I
love it.
I want to get into Candace Owens and some of the stuff that she's been saying, and I want to get your take because I think people really need to understand how FBI investigations work and how they don't work. And I thought Erica Kirk really did do a good job of answering at least that question. And all the conspiracy theories about there, but Charlie Kirk's not dead now. There are people that are on social media that are saying he's not dead. He's still alive, walking around somewhere. I mean, it's just so asinine the way these people think, Michael. So we got to go to break. We're talking to Michael Letts. I mean, this guy is like, man. No, I'm gonna go to break so that I can come back. I really love having conversations with you, Michael, because you're always truthful, you're honest, and you just give the truth, and you don't get that a lot from many people because they're afraid of saying certain things because some people they get their let's just say they get cut off when they start speaking the truth. So I always appreciate that about you, Michael Letts. I really do.
Well, thank you, John. Yeah, right. I feel the same. That's why I enjoy being on your show, because you have the same viewpoint.
Thank you. You're listening to Detroit's Morning Answer. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer. Before the break, we were talking to Michael Letts, Invest USA. Michael, I want you to lay out. We got about two and a half minutes. I want you to, let's go back to that day. Charlie Kirk, he's assassinated. Okay. He gets shot by a 30-06. Let's start right there. There's a lot of conspiracy that's saying that Charlie Kirk was shot by either a drone, his microphone lapel exploded.
Correct.
How did Charlie Kirk get assassinated? Let's start there.
Well, and here's where the problem we had within the Bureau. They quickly jumped and gave us a immediate answer. He was shot by the assailant on the roof with a rifle. But then when they produced the evidence, you don't see the rifle carrying it when he's on the roof. You don't see the rifle when he jumps off. And so, quite frankly, here are two things where they made huge mistakes, John. If you're going to be making an assertive statement early on, then you better make sure you have all the documentation and evidence to prove it. Because if it leads to questions, people are going to automatically assume you're hiding something or you're trying to dictate the narrative. And if those two are not the case and you don't have all the evidence yet, your best to you still need to be transparent, bring the people in. Here's where we're at. This is the evidence that we have. We had a person on the roof. We were told that he was the shooter. We're looking at the angles. We're trying to make sure we recover the weapon. We're trying to make sure that if there was a weapon recovered, that we have evidence that was the weapon he used. We got fingerprints on it, or, we've got video evidence showing him with that. And until we have everything, we're not going to just put something out there to allow the public to make an assumption that could be inaccurate. And that is where you see so many times that we fall down on the job. We feel the pressure. The public wants to know. America's not a very patient populace.
No, not especially today.
We want to know something, so I want to know it by 5 o'clock. So we kind of capitulate to the pressure. Well, here's what it looks like. And they miss that word looks like. They assume, here's what I'm saying it is. And boom. The next day, 2-3 days later, you begin to say, well, I don't see a picture of the gun. I don't see this or that. Then it's an automatic. Boy, it goes downhill fast, John.
Yeah. You're
automatically hiding something. There's a conspiracy theory that needs to be developed from here. Sometimes that's accurate, but sometimes it's just.
Oh, did we lose him? Uh-oh. Yeah, we lost him. We'll get him back. We got to go to break anyway. We'll get him back. because there's more questions I have about this case and some of the conspiracy theories that are out there swirling. They should have had their public information officer there and not Cash and not the governor, because they would have not allowed that to happen. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony. Before the break, we were talking to my good friend Michael Letts. Michael, we talked about, I don't know if you heard what I said, but I said instead of Cash and the governor being out there, they should have had their information officer out there. I'm a former public information officer. If they would have gave me that information, I would have said it's too early to mention anything about weapons, anything like that. Why didn't they do that?
Well, you got people jockeying. You're new in the position. I mean, Cash, yes, he's the director, and he's been involved politically, but sometimes we react so quickly. We see an opportunity to grandiose, to be the center of attention. You take it. I mean, I'm not being critical. I'm just being truthful.
Right.
And you take it, and then guess what? You put your foot in your mouth. And that's typically what happens, not just on this situation, most of the times. Because now that you're the center of attention, people expect that since you sit center stage, you got something to say.
Yeah.
And they want you to say it. They don't want you to just say, "Hey, we're still working on it."
It's a fluid situation.
You to say something.
One of the things, the greatest word that somebody you could ever say, "Hey, it's a fluid situation." There are a lot of moving parts right now. At this time, we don't know what we don't know. But guess what? The moment we get it, we'll come back here and we'll give you the information. Until then, we've opened up an investigation, and as we learn, we'll tell you what we can. That's simple, Mike.
Exactly.
Because it's
that simple, and I love what you said, John. When you tell the media, "Look, we're not hiding. We will give you the information we have once it's vetted." But you don't want to report something that's not true either.
Correct. Because what it does is it leads to all these rumors and conspiracy theories that we have now. So my question, Michael Letts, who killed Charlie Kirk?
I still strongly believe this. I believe that it was not a random lone wolf, as being indicated. The issue's too complex. There's too many logistics that are required. Now, who is part of the team, shall we say, that were able to pull this together? I think that's still being investigated. Now, here's where you get people to get upset. So are we going to find that information out, if they actually led to anything or not, or is it going to be hidden? That's a shame that we've allowed our agencies to come to the point with public trust that they don't have any.
Correct. That is, oh my God, that is so true. Because a lot of people are coming down on Candace Owens. Listen, I want somebody to fight like Candace Owens is fighting.
I agree.
But I do think some of the things that she said, especially now that she's implicated that Turning Point USA and his own wife somewhat had, because I don't know if you saw that that video with the guy who's saying that now he saw on some base in Utah that a white girl with a ponytail, blonde-haired lady with a ponytail, meeting with a congressman, Charlie's chief of security. I mean, it leads to stuff like that, correct? And do you hold?
It does.
When you look at that, do you think there's any validity to that?
I think what happens is people overreach.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is because there is a lack of trust, there could have very well been a meeting, okay, but it had actually nothing to do with what was going on with that day with Charlie. But because of that, people automatically assume that everything that's being done is nefarious. And I think that's an overreach as well. But I do think that it comes down to the standpoint that we have allowed ourselves to become untrustworthy talking about the government, and we have overplayed cliches. I can't get back to you. This is under investigation. I can't talk about it.
Correct.
Well, that's not necessarily true. That's not a law. That's procedure. And what we're saying there is we don't want to talk about something that may impede or harm the investigation or harm our ability to get a conviction. But you can talk about it. You can give direction. You can, tell people this is what we know. We're not making assumptions at this stage. You're going to have to wait because we don't have all the facts in it. It has to be validated. We could be doing such a much better job instead of having people, what I call politicians, push their way out and say, "Oh, this is a grand stage for me. This is a grandirization. My time. Let me say something." Well, they key you up then, and they expect you to say something, so then you have to start making things up. That never works.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the mistakes that Candace Owens has made, because she thinks the
Yes.
FBI owes her an explanation. That's not how FBI investigations
No.
work, correct, Michael?
You are correct. You are correct. We don't do an investigation for a particular person.
Right.
We do an investigation for the government, and we do the investigation for the American people. And, hey, my comment to Candace is, I'm glad you've got questions.
Yes.
And here's where I push back on the government, where I get a little critical on our side, is, look, no question is stupid. They should give you a list of all 20, but we should go through line item by line item and answer each one with the validated facts, so that people don't think there is a conspiracy or there's something that's trying to be hid. And if you don't have the validated facts, say so. Hey, this is a good point, and we're going to check into this, and we don't know the answer to this one. Next point, and go from there. That's all the American people want, is they want the truth.
Yeah. And it also, the whole rule, because what I'm trying to do here is knock down all of these conspiracy theories, and to say that he's not dead. I mean, go talk to his parents. Go talk to his parents and ask them that question. Go talk to his kids who will no longer see a father. I mean, how asinine you have to be to say that he's not dead now, Michael?
And you see, and here's the thing, we have to be just as careful talking about it from a public standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm going to use a statement you just made. What do you base that on?
Right.
What? I mean, did I go up there and see him myself and get some selfies with him after the fact, and get him to sign a statement with his name on it? Oh, I'm not dead. This is all play. If you don't have any kind of validation of what you're saying, keep it to yourself.
Yes. That's exact. Because you know what? People are waiting for my comment on it. I'm waiting to read all of the reports. Once I can get my hands on all of the investigation, I'm going to read through it, and then I'm going to give my expertise. I'm a former death investigator. I mean, I'm a former evidence technician. I know what I'm going in there looking for. A lot of these people who are sidearm Monday morning quarterbackers who don't understand how investigations, how evidence plays out. You see all these people, and they're all making a lot of money. Michael, I can't sell my soul. I cannot sell my soul. I'm not willing to sell my soul for anybody. And that's why I'm always waiting for investigations to be complete. Because even if the government is trying to hide something, I'm going to see it, Michael, right?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. It always comes out.
It does.
And when I say it comes out, it doesn't necessarily give you the answer, but it's a gaping holes where you can see the error of how they proceeded. Those are always the gaping holes that come out.
Yeah, especially something that's high pro. Well, I guess they hid the Martin Luther King and JFK assassination for so many years. So. Yeah,
but the funny part about that, John, is America. If you talk to the Americans, they knew something was off. They just didn't know what.
Yeah, just like with Charlie Kirk's assassination, something is not adding up. 1 + 1 is not 3; it's 2. So something is off, and Candace is right on with that aspect. But to implicate his wife, to say that, start doing all these personal attacks. I'm not here for that. I want to get to the bottom. What is the truth? The truth is what should stand, Michael. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're exactly right. And talk about the personal thing. So you hug somebody differently than what somebody else would have hugged. I mean, just look, we're only interested in what are factual matters and are they validated.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't judge a person's motives. I have no idea what's going through your mind when you're hugging somebody. None of my business. I mean, quit trying to make an assumption and play it out as if that were the evidence.
Correct. Now, I want to play something, this 60 Minutes segment being pulled because Barry Weiss basically said, hey, you don't have the Trump administration's take on that, so it should be pulled. I want to get your take on this.
Well, CBS is under fire after 60 Minutes pulled a segment on the notorious El Salvador maximum security prison where the Trump administration has been sending hundreds of illegal immigrants earlier this year. Some within the network are now reportedly blasting the last-minute change, calling it a political decision. Our Nate Foy is live with the very latest on this story. Hi, Nate.
Hey, Aisha. The decision to postpone this 60 Minutes segment happened over the weekend. And a CBS spokesperson tells Fox News the piece needs additional reporting before airing.
Now, Michael, what's wrong with that? Why? I mean, I guess 60 Minutes is so used to doing it their way. And you get somebody like Barry Weiss in there who's saying the way we've done it of old, that's no longer going to happen here. What's the truth about what the people that are being sent to this prison? Because the Trump administration really hasn't spoken about it.
Well, a couple things that I just picked up when listening to that they had not reported. First of all, who are we sending there? Well, we're sending back the El Salvadorians that came here illegally. So they have every right to be back in El Salvador under El Salvador's jurisdiction. We don't send them back and tell the president, now, here's what we want you to do with your people.
Correct.
No, we're sending them back. If they want to put them there, and that's what they're equipped to do, and quite frankly, I think this president's onto something. He makes sure that there is accountability. Yeah. And people know that there's accountability for criminal action, and that's why the prison is not a luxury spa resort. And if that's where he's going to send them, that's his business. But see, this is CBS making you think that we are dictating to a foreign government what to do with the people we're sending back. Now, we're sending criminals back to get them out of our country, and they're your criminals. You decide what you're going to do, and that's the first thing. The second thing is El Salvador has said, hey, if you've got some people that you don't know where to send them back to that they won't take, and remember, we're working on that. Just because you say you won't take your people back doesn't mean that that's the end of the discussion. Right. But while you're working on that, you want to send them our way, we'll take them. Now, you have people saying, well, that's a prison system that's just way too harsh, et cetera. Well, that's your opinion. I'm glad you have one. Everybody does. But at the same time, it's the administration's responsibility to protect the American people. And we're not going to do this. We're not going to say, oh, well, we don't know what to do. We're going to sit on our hands, put them back out on the streets so we decide. No. We're going to send them to be accountable somewhere, and then we'll work out the details if it doesn't work out that way later.
Correct. And they're sending back the worst of the worst. And in the report, she called them migrants. And Barry White said, no, you want to call them illegal migrants? You can. But they're not migrants. They are illegal aliens or illegal migrants. That's who they. And she got upset, and then she sent off a blistering email to other members, and it aired in Canada of all places. Michael, what the heck is going on here?
Isn't that amazing? And you see, they won't take responsibility for the falsehood perceptions that they're playing. They're playing that we're sending back a bunch of poor, innocent parents who just tried to make a better way of life. As you pointed out, the only people going back are hardened criminals that have been terrorizing American citizens who came from that area, who their country should be making sure that they're dealt with according to their laws.
Yeah, Michael, now, I mean, an interview wouldn't go if I didn't bring up Invest USA. What's the latest with what you're doing? I know you were planning something. What's the latest in protecting the men and women who serve our country?
We've got so many things. I'll very quickly see. Of course, you already know the need. We've got the Southern cartels in Mexico that are offering $10,000 a head for every law enforcement officer, American law enforcement officer killed in the line of duty. So they need this protection now more than ever. They're definitely targets. Of course, you see what's going on with ICE, them targeting ICE, et cetera. They need our assistance. So there's never been a greater time where we need to make sure we're protecting our first responders than now. That having been said, we're at the Christmas season. And, if you really want to make this a meaningful Christmas, do something for somebody else. Yeah. Why don't you do something for a cop on the street? Just make a donation to help him make sure he can come home to his family. He's out there trying to protect you for your family. The least you can do is to return the favor. So that's what we're pressing. You asked real quickly, what are we doing? We have so many projects going on. Let me give one that you and I are going to be talking about on another show, I'm sure. Yeah. We've got a graphic novel coming out. We have 3 superhero first responders. It's a dynamic situation. You say, what's the purpose behind it? John, one of the biggest problems we have on the street right now is we can't find anybody to wear the badge. Wow. Nobody wants to be a cop anymore. Wow. And of course, you wonder why. Look at what the mass media is doing. Why would any kid want to grow up to be a cop or a firefighter or anything else anymore? So we put together a graphic novel. What does a graphic novel mean? Well, you're talking to an old guy like me. The old terminology was a comic book. And we have got these graphic novels coming out portraying our first responders in the way they should be portrayed. And we're excited to want to get this into every school system and every public library and to every kid's hand in America to show that there is great validity and great honor in serving your community and helping to protect those who need your assistance.
I love that. Where can people, if they wanted to go and purchase a vest for somebody, where can they do that, Michael?
They go to our website. That's INVESTUSA.org. They can go online and be able to make a donation. Of course, make sure that you tell our first responders during this season, Merry Christmas and thank you for your service. And, John, thank you for what you're doing. You are making a huge difference in this country, and God bless you for it.
Michael Letts, founder, president, and CEO of Invest USA. I love you, brother. I want you to be protected, too. You make sure that you keep your head on that swivel. And Merry Christmas to you, and thanks so much for joining us today on Detroit's Morning Answer.
It's always a privilege and an honor with you, John. Anytime. God bless America, and Merry Christmas to all.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.